What up, good folk? This your main man Markel, and I'm back with another video, man. Let's get into it. Before we do that, though, I know y'all see me up in here looking crazy before, but just so you know, I had to get the twist, the barrels twist, for sure. You feel me? You feel me, B? You know what I'm saying? So last time we talked about mankind's role here in Earth. Today we're going to talk about how that plan actually fell out and how that moves forward with the rest of the storyline in the Bible. Y'all check in. So we can't transition out of Genesis without talking about the fall. That's the pivot in the storyline, and it writes the rest of the Bible story for us. So we got to dive into it. And we all know the story, right? Eve gets tricked by a serpent. She bites the apple. She gives Adam some of the apple. He bites the apple. God comes back. Who told you were naked? We know the storyline, right? So at this point, the role of mankind stays the same, but it's played out differently. Now, because of this willful disobedience, mankind signs up inevitably for tragedy after tragedy after tragedy, right? But because God is still good and he still wants the same thing, which is relationship with us, he makes a covenant. And we see that covenant made with Abraham, and this is where the story gets juicy. God makes a covenant with Abraham and promises him that he's going to bless him with land, a great nation, and that his family will be the family that blesses the rest of the earth and all the nations in it. So time goes on and Abraham has multiple sons, two of which we hear about the most when we think about the Bible stories, Isaac and Jacob. And Jacob has several sons, one of which is Joseph, which we know to be very popular because the nigga had a fire jacket, essentially. Now, on top of this fire jacket, he has the ability to interpret dreams, right? And his brothers low-key end up hating on him for it. Hating on him so much so that they sell him into slavery. He gets sold into slavery in Egypt, and then he gets to Egypt and he becomes imprisoned. But since Joseph was so nasty at interpreting dreams, he essentially ends up interpreting one for the Pharaoh, and the Pharaoh finds favor in him, makes him second in command. Still rocking out with his gift, Joseph ends up interpreting a dream for Pharaoh about a famine that's coming down the road. He prepares Egypt for the famine, and because of his preparation, Egypt survives the famine. He saves all of Egypt in a very calculated and strategic way. And on top of that, he saves his own family, the same family of brothers that sold him into slavery in the first place. And the Pharaoh's so grateful, he like, yo, y'all can stay here if y'all want. We got plenty of room. Y'all can eat. Y'all can do y'all thing. Y'all gonna be safe here. I'm grateful to Joseph. You cool with Joseph, you cool with me. So essentially what happens is Joseph and his whole household do end up going down to Egypt, and they multiply, and the families multiply greatly. And it speaks back to the covenant God made with Abraham in Genesis, right? Because Joseph is of the lineage of Abraham. The book of Exodus is named after the event, the Exodus. But this is how the transition takes place, right? Abraham has a grandson. Grandson saves Egypt. All his people move down to Egypt. 400 years pass, and this is where the book of Exodus picks up, where the people of Abraham's lineage, they're in Egypt. They have multiplied greatly, and this low-key intimidates the Pharaoh, so he ends up imprisoning them, and then Exodus picks up the rest of the story. And that's it. That's how we transition from Genesis to Exodus. Hopefully that made sense to y'all. I really wanted to break that down for y'all, for those of y'all who didn't know how this storyline flowed. And there's more to it. So y'all got to stay tuned in to get the rest of the facts. Yeah.